You are listening and watching on Sportsnet 590, Sportsnet 360, and Sportsnet Plus from 4 to 6 p.m. The real Kyper and Bourne show on this Monday.
Yeah.
December. I don't know what it is.
It's the 11th of December.
Is it the 11th already?
I know. Isn't that wild?
Time flies.
Yes.
We're glad you're on board wherever you download our podcast. You want to send us a text, send your condolences.
Did something happen?
Friday, we went from the Ohtani watch when they announced on Saturday a $700 million deal to L.A. We went to a Sammy McKee watch.
Yeah.
JB, call him, see, is he okay?
Is everything? Check in.
Check
just
in.
check. It's like when someone gets concussion, just make sure they haven't hurt themselves.
Wake Sammy up every 3 hours, okay? That was our Sammy. Sammy.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
I was
JB.
just say, if you could delete any episodes of our show off the internet, it would be the first week followed by last show.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So
Are you okay? That's all our, listen,
No time.
all our viewers, all our watchers just want to, they're saying, is Sammy okay?
I got a lot of messages after it happened asking if I was okay.
Yes.
I really did. Like, people were checking in on
Yeah,
me.
my mom was like, is Sam okay?
I had to admit, boys, I don't really get like this often. We talk a lot on this show. We say a lot of dumb things about the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I really never regret it.
Yeah.
Like, I just,
Whatever.
I live with it. It's what it is. It's the job. But I have woken up in a cold sweat multiple times over the past weekend. Lost sleep over our show on Friday.
Why?
It's the saddest time capsule of all time. It is.
Sammy.
It was an hour.
What?
It was an hour where three men sitting in this room truly believed that Shohei Ohtani was going to be a Blue Jay.
Time out. Two.
Oh, come
Two,
on.
man.
No way.
Two men.
And I would like to say, I think there was enough breadcrumbs
For sure.
to.
Listen, I
no
was.
one celebrated the completion, but there was enough breadcrumbs to go, oh my
I'm
God.
defending myself a little bit. I was leaning towards it,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
but on Friday,
It was me.
I told you I'm worried if it doesn't happen for Sammy. Did I not say that on Friday?
But also, Kip, you also said that you feel like a lot of it could be for leverage, if you will.
That was my first gut instinct.
Yeah.
The very first time we
The
talked about
very
this.
first time we even went down that path, I said that, and I'm mad at myself. You may be
Oh,
in
your
a puddle,
spidey sense
but I'm
tingled.
mad at myself because I didn't
Stick to
stick
your
with my
guns?
first gut instinct.
Because you would have looked like the smartest guy ever. If you had been like the whole time, it's leverage. So it was as big a gut punch as I can remember getting that, I still believe. I woke up the next day and I had a regroup.
Yeah.
I was extremely sad Friday after because we go out of here. I'm up in the newsroom. I'm waiting around. I'm like,
The Nightingale tweet was devastating.
I'm like, this might happen. This might happen. Like, I'm waiting around. I'm like, I want to be here when this happens. And then
They were right there. They were right there.
I know they were right there. And that's the part that's the hardest to swallow, fellas, is that they were right in this to the end. They had to be right in this to the end. I'm not faulting the front office for 1 second. This is a different type of free agent. You have to be all in no matter what.
Yeah.
And they were right there, and it just didn't come through. So now I don't know.
I said to Sammy, I did Leafs Talk on Saturday, and I said to him, it's one thing for the pretty girl at school to not want to date you. It's another thing to have publicly told the high school that you love her and want her to date you and then have her say no. It hurts a little bit more. So from that aspect, I can feel the burn a little bit here, but
Like there's no way it gets to $700 million without the Jays.
Yeah, for sure.
Jays did. They put some money in his pocketbook.
And I will. So the next part of this that kind of ties into what we do here about the Leafs and about Toronto is I'm seeing a lot of the people south of the border writing about, tweeting about, talking about how this is good for baseball that he ended up there. It's good for baseball. And like talking about Toronto like it's Siberia.
Yeah.
And, I shouldn't let this stuff get to me because it's definitely like a inferiority complex, but it pisses me off to no end. But you said something to me in the newsroom today where I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, I forget who the tweet was from, but it was like, For all you people in Toronto, feeling like the small market here to the Dodgers, this is how the Winnipeg Jets fans feel all the time. And I was like, oh, God, are we
we're
doing
the
that?
Dodgers. We are
So
LA.
this is an apology to,
I just hate
And-
that it's like, oh, Toronto, it's good for. How many people watch a Dodgers regional game versus a Blue Jays game on a Tuesday night? The Jays, a million people watch a Tuesday night against the Royals. How many people are watching in?
Yeah.
It's like that part
I
of
saw
it is
that
so
the per
tone
game
deaf.
viewership is actually
Yes.
higher in Toronto than anywhere else in baseball.
That part of it is so tone deaf for me. Oh, it's so good for baseball. Give me a break. Give me a break.
Well, I know you said off air that you kind of were embarrassed about Friday.
And I'll say it right now. I am still embarrassed
Yeah,
about Friday.
but you shouldn't be.
I know.
You shouldn't be, because this is what we love about you, Sammy. You represent the guy, the gal at home.
The idiot. I represent the idiot.
Yes, in many ways you do, but they're people too, Sammy.
I know, man. I know.
And
I know.
that's what makes you great on our show,
Okay,
is that
thank
you
you.
bring that passion and emotion, and I don't want you to change for 1 second. So keep feeling like an idiot.
Thank you.
But also,
Thank you.
when you're on the other side of it, it
I'm
feels that
thrilled.
much better too when you're that pot committed, right? And I mean,
That's right.
so now when the Jays pick up Bellinger and re-sign Chapman and do all this stuff and get competitive. By the way, the best thing that can happen now is to not root for Ohtani to for injuries or whatever, but just root for him to kind of go like Batista, like 32, start hitting about 250, 20 some homers.
And
That'd be nice.
listen, there's a lot of stuff floating around on the internet, conspiracy theory wise, that I will neither confirm nor deny I'm believing. We don't need to get into the details of it. But if any of what is being reported is true, you know how I was telling you on Friday how much I would hate Shohei Ohtani?
Yeah.
It is times 10. He is my least favorite athlete of all time. Easily. Like Daniel Alverson.
despise that
Buddy, I would wear a Daniel Alverson
Hold on.
jersey
He
to my
hates Ohtani.
Hold on.
I'd wear a Daniel
Hold
Alverson
on.
jersey to my wedding over.
Hey, we promise everybody we're going to get to the Leafs on this edition of Real Kyper and Bourne Show.
We can't
but
just move on from this like last week didn't happen.
just for a split second.
Can't stand him.
What is it about him that you can't stand more today than like a week ago? What?
Well, that he didn't sign here.
He used us.
He used the Toronto Blue Jays. That's the part.
I think maybe some people around him
He let
maybe
He didn't
have-
say don't do that.
He didn't say,
He said
"Hey."
drum it
He
up,
didn't- he said,
baby.
Hey, I don't do that. I love the people of Toronto and I want to go play for them. He didn't do that.
He said,
I
in
hate him.
fact,
I'm
in
going to-
fact,
I'm
kick
going to-
them
All
while
I
they're
know-
down.
The number one ticket next year is the first Dodgers game when they play here. And I'm going to go there like he's prime Vince Carter. I'm going to kill him.
So
I'm going to say
this went
700
down-
million can't buy you pride, buddy.
this went down as one of the best and biggest negotiation play in the history of sport.
No question.
Complete silence, nothing leaked, and you hate him that much more because of it, because
Oh, yeah.
they kept everybody on the outside.
Yeah. I listen, Kyper.
That reason sucks on
Yeah,
your
no,
part.
Hey, guess what?
That's
they
just-
strung us
that's-
along,
nah,
kid.
that's-
They strung us along.
That's
I don't have to-
sour grapes.
Absolutely. It's
Okay, that's why we
Are
love
you
you.
crazy? I hold grudges for way less than this.
Okay, once
This is
again,
not logical.
I'll say it. Just yes, Sammy.
Thank you.
Just
Thank
don't
you.
change.
Hey, I'm
don't
here-
change. Be
I'm
be
here
shallow.
I'm here for my Jays fans, and I'm telling you, if you're listening and you care about what I say, you better be buying tickets to that game, and you better be booing alongside me. That's all I know.
Okay.
Love it.
Okay.
So the good news is
Yes.
Boy, do I
the
need
Leafs.
Saturday.
The Leafs saved all Blue Jay fans over the weekend
Yeah.
with their most complete effort of the season. 4-0 win over Nashville.
Yeah. No, that was a really refreshing game. I don't know if you guys saw Sheldon Keefe talk to the team post game. They had one of those little blueprint clips where he was just like,
Which I hate, by the way, because they're always just a little kind of full of themselves.
Oh,
"I
it's
ain't
it's
full of himself."
it's
Well,
state
when
controlled
you
media.
know it's on
It's-
camera, when you know it's going out there, it's not real. It's just real for the fans
But
too.
don't you think that guy, the social team's probably there every game?
Yeah, for sure.
Probably like in every game thing.
But these guys are on camera all the time. they're not even thinking about when there's a camera and there's not a camera.
You know what I heard
No,
today?
they do.
You think?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
without
agree
a
with you,
doubt.
yeah.
100%. You don't get to say exactly how you feel knowing that something's going to be recorded.
I also heard that it's a dad's trip right now, that the dads are in like the pregame meetings and stuff with the players having a listen. And I couldn't
Really?
imagine being the coach and going through that. And I got to got all the dads there. What is this, camp?
Now,
That's
if
a
it was
little weird.
real, it'd be like, can you get your kid
Yeah.
to put one on the tape for once
Yeah.
on a breakout?
Did you never wrestle with your son? Why is he so soft? It's just a weird setup. But anyway, in that clip, he talks about how that was what they needed. It was a tidy game. They took care of business, and it was all those things. Samsonov gets a shutout, but he only had to make 18 saves. Nashville looked overmatched in a lot of areas. So nice to come in here and say the better team won. It was the Leafs. No butts attached.
All right, let's go to Sheldon Keefe for our first Kippers Clipper of the week on his overview of what he saw.
But I just thought we had all game. I thought we had a real patient approach. In the second period especially, our game started to really come, and I thought we really took care of the puck and just made sure we were just going to wear them down and not really let their game get started offensively. And then I thought through that over time we could break them down, and the guys stayed patient until that happened, and then they got their chances in the second period where we got behind them and made good on them. Which we had some chances in the first period as well that we didn't make good on, and that allowed the game to stay at zeros. But I just loved our second period, and that set us up for the third, which the guys took care of well.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw better line changes. I saw Austin Matthews coming off the ice on a play going up the ice, which was a nice change.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a lot tidier. They weren't chasing the puck as much.
Yeah.
They had it. They didn't take unnecessary gambles.
Yeah.
So it was what Sheldon just said.
Question for you. What did you think of Nashville starting Lankinen? They had a back-to-back,
Yeah.
and they wanted Saros to go the next night against Montreal. And in their defense, they did get the win in Montreal with
Yeah.
Saros in net.
But no offense like Toronto's.
Right.
So your point is, why didn't you play your better goalie
Sure,
against
yeah. Are you
the
trying to
tougher
win both?
opponent?
Exactly. Are you trying to win both games, or is Nashville kind of coming in here like we probably won't win?
Yeah.
Which is, to me, sends a pretty negative message to your guys at the gate.
Yeah, it's a different mindset. It's the opposite of the Babs mindset of starting your guy in the first game. I think it's just that they thought, if we win it with him, good.
That's
but if we
kinda
don't,
it. It's such a quitter attitude to me
it's
going
a weird
into the
one.
game.
But yeah,
Goaltending wasn't their issue.
thought he was pretty good for the
I
first
thought he was
period
pretty
and a
good
half.
too.
Yeah.
I loved the Matthews 5-hole shot. As he's coming across laterally, not many people choose 5 holes. The goalie's diving across. I thought that was really clever. So yeah, I'm not going to fault Lankinen.
I think Samsonov started the game. My only reason why I thought Jones should have started on the weekend was not knowing exactly where Samsonov was coming off a week of illness. But Sammy, you said get him in there right away, and they did. It wasn't overly taxed. Again, what do they average? 6 shots a period?
Yeah. It was 18 total.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
If you had to pick a perfect game for him to come back, it would have been Saturday.
Nashville's top line is sneaky dominant this season with Ryan O'Reilly and Forsberg. If you look at they control 60-some% of expected goals. They weren't great against Matthews' line head-to-head. Matthews' line carried the shots 8-3, I think, in that head-to-head matchup. So if you neutralize their top line, there's not a whole lot left that can burn you.
Okay, let's go to Sheldon Keefe on what his thoughts were on Samsonov.
If you could draw it up as a perfect game for him, that'd probably be it. Doesn't let anything in. The guys play well in front of him. For a guy that hasn't played in a while and is coming off an illness, he said, he had three good skates this week. Practice days. That's why we were comfortable playing him tonight. But hasn't played obviously, and with Wall's injury and such, there's a little bit of pressure and attention on that position right now, and for Sammy to come in and have a night like that. Is great for him and something for him to build on for sure.
I think there was a poster too where he couldn't find the puck, but outside of that, there was no real danger.
I would say I think they hit 3.
Mm-hmm.
I think they hit 3 posts pretty hard.
But, one thing we talk with Samsonov is about when he gets busy, and I thought he was pretty quiet.
Yeah.
He wasn't flying around out there and diving out of the net. My son played goaltender for the first time in his life on the weekend.
Yeah. What a
and just
thrill.
full Peter Mrazek. Like, post to post, he's in the corner. It was chaos. And
Hopefully he hated it.
And he did.
Good.
So
It's just
is that one of those situations where every kid's got to play in net
yeah,
once?
everyone gets a crack at it.
Yeah, I did it. I did
Nightmare.
it a bunch.
Yeah,
It's a parent nightmare.
yeah, he made a few stops, but not enough to have fun. It was great.
Good.
Yeah,
good.
But either way, I was like,
Really
this looks, like
Yeah.
Samsonov when he's off, and Sammy didn't look
Yeah,
like
that's
my
where you
7-year-old,
just
so.
pull them off the ice, and it's like, God, that didn't look like fun at all,
Oh, it was
right? It was
miserable, yeah.
horrible, right? Yeah, you don't want to ever do
He
that
just
again.
left a pebble in his skate. I don't know. Did that hurt today?
See the left side of the ice there? It's like the wing. That's way more
Oh,
fun.
look
Me
how
over
fast
there.
he can go up and down there. Yeah, exactly.
Now, did we see a different camp than we saw probably in the first 5 or 6 weeks of the season? Because that looked like a completely different player to me.
Yeah.
I mean,
Moving.
the point I made on Leafs Talk after with Borny, and I'll make it here too, is that when you're playing a team that pretty clearly didn't have it, to me, in the Nashville Predators, and I don't think they're terrible, but they played terribly. They weren't very good.
No.
Your lesser guys sort of start to
Look real
elevate
good.
a little bit. Like, for example, Benoit, he stepped up on McDonough there and hammered him, and he hadn't done that all year.
Yeah.
Like, Camp had the beautiful goal.
It's like preseason when Connor
Yeah.
Timmins is
Yes.
like electric, or, Nick Ritchie or whoever it
Exactly.
was here lights it up.
And Camp, he scored that beautiful goal, but he also had like 3 or 4 other times where he
Yeah.
looked like he was buzzing. He had the puck in his stick. So I think your lesser players look really good on a night like that, but I thought he did look better, and they need him to be better. So it's good.
I think he finished with like almost 16 minutes of ice
Flying.
time. Like,
Flying out
that's
there.
not fourth line minutes.
No, and let me just say that's damning for the Western Conference that Nashville's a playoff team.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's a bad team. I actually think that's one of the worst teams we've seen play this year.
Yeah, there was
Maybe
there
because the
was-
Leafs played
listen,
well,
If
I'm so biased,
if
but-
Forsberg is not carrying them, and I think he came in rather hot, 13 goals in 16 games.
Yeah.
Like, if he is not on completely his A game, I don't know where else you go. And Ryan O'Reilly, we all love, but he is not. He doesn't carry a team.
I mean, I'm just looking at their lineup. Like, I know we watched that game, but like, I don't know where it's supposed to come from. Parsonen, Trennan, Sherwood, Tomasino, Evangelista. There's nothing there. So,
Okay, let's
not
go.
a Nashville fan.
Let's go to Keefe. Let's go to Keefe talking about his fourth line.
Okay.
Offensively, and I think he's just getting better and better. I thought his line was excellent tonight. Gregor was excellent tonight. I thought Revo fit really well in the line. Made me comfortable playing them here tonight. But that goal obviously is a huge one for us, because you're just waiting to you're waiting for that moment. You're being patient. You keep working, but you need to get rewarded. And for Camper to come through like that, it was big.
Yeah, I don't know. Do the guys need to be rewarded to know if they're contributing well on a fourth line? I mean, listen, I played the role. I lived it, and it's nice to score for sure, but I don't know. I mean,
Not even what you're supposed to be doing,
if
right?
if
Yeah.
I'm out there causing havoc and
Yeah, it's different with
It's when you
Camp,
get
though, because
lost.
he doesn't cause havoc, right? Like, he
they're not
doesn't.
havoc guys.
No, not necessarily. Although Gregor can do it
Gregor
a
would
little
piss
bit.
me off.
Yeah.
And
It's
I
like,
say
can you
that in a good way.
It's like, can you stop skating 1,000 miles an hour and running
Yeah.
into our guys?
Yeah.
Someone will try to fight you at some point if you do that long enough, and that's good. I
Yeah.
think that's what we like.
And if Reeves can find a way to keep up and not put himself in a vulnerable situation defensively, he can find his spots where he can look like he's earning his money.
Yeah, Sheldon actually talked about Reeves a little bit today. It's clip 7. Why don't we have that on Reeves?
I think it's really coming. I thought his game the other night for our whole team was probably our best game, but for him and that line, in terms of how the three of them were working off of each other and how connected they were, and the pace and physicality and pressure they had on the puck, it was really tremendous. And that's really what we've been looking for our entire team. But Revo was right there in the thick of it, and it was really good to see.
See, I like where he is right now, too, because you come in, you've been told the room's too quiet. So you come in, you want to make some noise, and you suck a lot of oxygen out of the room with the media, and you go to Instagram and you put on your Halloween mask and you send those clips out.
He's
and,
flexing when he walked out for his
and it's all
introductions.
like, it doesn't really mean anything unless, you get the job done on the ice, and he was not able to get the job done. I like the quiet Reeves right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Just go out there and finish your checks when you can. And that's what has to come first.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it can follow.
You're right. If you can't consistently contribute enough that they want you in the lineup, then, all that sort of flexing and stuff is.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It feels like the storm, the Reeves storm, has kind of passed here a little bit, where we were coming in here after every game when he was
So they can't use him.
he was like, he's unplayable. You can't have him on the ice. Like, he's not a player.
Yeah.
And then he gets sat, and it's that weird schedule in Sweden, and he's rested for however long. And then he comes back, and he's just been capable.
Yeah. He's been
Is that
fine.
is that a good way to put it?
If he's that with the ability to go nuclear if they need him to, that's what he's here for.
I would like to see a nuclear shift or two at some point. Like, I would like to see everybody's gloves come off and have a crazy shift once or twice.
We'll get into more specifics in our national hour at the top of the clock. But take a look around the league. It always gets a little hairy this time of year in December. Like,
People let their guard up, and
it's
all of a
gone
sudden
a
there's
little
bad hits
nuclear.
and-
Good Branson went nuclear,
Did he ever?
right?
As he should have, in my opinion.
And we'll get into that in our next hour. But that's what you're talking about,
Yeah.
aren't you?
Like, I'm talking about a shift where it's banana sandwich. Like, people are flying around, gloves. There's a yard sale. It looks like a 1996 junior hockey game out there. Like, I'm waiting for one of those.
We're talking major snot.
Yes. And then you would have thought that sitting here on December 11th, we would have seen more than 2 Ryan Reeves fights to this point.
We got
Fair.
Thomas Hickey. We're going to take a break in a few minutes. We're going to get Thomas Hickey, former NHL defenseman, former teammate of John Tavares. John Tavares is now sitting, 3 points shy, Sammy? Am I right?
2.
2 points shy. He picked one up Saturday night. So he's 2 points shy of 1,000 in his NHL career, which would add to the storyline of John Tavares going back to the island. But it's been 5 years now, and yet this is an intriguing storyline tonight. Is John going back to the island? And it's far from over.
It is. We actually have a really great clip on this on Tavares. We're going to throw now to Tavares talking about going back to Long Island. John? Hold on, this is not a real clip.
No, we have real clips, do we not?
I want to hear John. This is John himself.
Obviously, it's a tremendous honor to go back to somewhere where I always loved playing, storied franchise where I grew up as a hockey player, and it's a really tremendous honor for me. I can't wait to play tonight, and 1,000 points is a real honor. Not sure I'll get there tonight. We'll see what haps, but really excited to play tonight.
Thanks, John.
No problem.
Thanks. We apprecight that. And that's been John Tavares.
This is why
everyone.
you should not throw clips. That's why I'm in charge here.
we legitimately were going to clip a Tavares thing today, and it's like there's no point.
Okay, let's see.
He just says the right things.
Get the real John Tavares
Clip?
Yes.
Well, we have Keith talking about him. Yeah, we don't actually have John.
I thought we did have
No,
one.
I don't even have John. We just wanted fake John.
Kyper, I started listening to it and my eyes crossed. I can't get through it. I can't get through it.
Okay, we'll go to Sheldon Keefe on his captain.
Yeah, it's quite an accomplishment. I mean, it's 1,000 games is impressive, of course, in and of itself. But 1,000 points just speaks to consistency. I mean, John's got a lot of game left in him here, so it just speaks to how consistent he's been throughout his career. So it's tremendous how he's on the cusp of that.
So, JB, I'll start with you.
Yeah.
5 years later.
Yeah.
Is the passion to hate John in the island as strong as Sammy's for Ohtani today?
No, it's not.
Nothing's
and
as
I say
strong
that
as that.
purely as a reflection of Sam for Ohtani's, than not on. It doesn't seem to have dissipated much on Long Island. When I'm there, I hear from people all the time. They call him a snake. That's the most common phrase. They're not happy about it. So it may take a little time. All John can do is do the right things. I actually did I did read one of his quotes today where he talked about, he poured his heart and soul out there for 9 years, was the captain.
Mm-hmm.
Meant a lot to him.
Mm-hmm.
Tremendous honor to be back.
Tremendous honor. If he hasn't had a ton of success, and he's played
how many games now?
He's played 11 games against. He has 7 points
as a Leaf.
Yeah, 7 points in 11 games for him. And I'm just looking at his splits against all these teams, and he's basically just point per game against everyone.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty big. Like 11's his smallest sample size, but to look at it like that, that's tells me something.
He's in a bit of a dry spell scoring goals too, isn't he?
Games.
Yeah.
2 and 15.
Mm-hmm.
If he gets
a ton of chances.
If he gets 1,000,
mm-hmm.
there should be acknowledgement out of the Islanders, don't you think?
Confetti?
Oh, they have to.
Yes,
acknowledge
100%.
Right? Of course.
Like, would they have?
Tavares left as a UFA.
Would they have a little video? A little video?
No video.
No, I'm just asking.
I'm telling you, he didn't force a
Sammy,
trade.
it would be a classy thing to do
That's
for
what I
the
mean,
Islanders.
But they won't do a video. They'll do they'll put up a thing on the Jumbotron being like 1,000
I
points.
bet you if they did, congratulations, John Tavares, 1,000 points, it would be 50% boos and cheers.
No shot.
At some point, you have to acknowledge 100 players in NHL history have got 1,000 points.
I would be disappointed in the Islanders if they did not.
Big number.
If they did not acknowledge 1,000 points for him,
it would be a big
and
number.
I'm not saying stop the game and present him with like silverware, but
one setting of cutlery.
Yes. Well, that's what they used to do. That's what Harold Ballard used to do for Leaf players. Like when Sittler scored his 10 points or Ian Turnbull scored 5 goals, he'd give him like a tea set.
What? Go down to the bay and pick one up or what?
I'm telling you, I'm not making it up. Yeah.
It's a different time.
I don't know. Did he fly it in from Tiffany's? I have no idea.
I got a hunch. No.
But it was a silver, like sterling silver tea set.
It's good stuff. What do you want me to say? It's good, better than a kick in the pants.
If you're watching today, put it on eBay. I'm curious what it would get.
Legit, I bet if he put the backstory with that from Ballard, Daryl Sittler's nice tea set, I bet you it's worth money. Classic Auctions, where you at?
Yeah.
Where's my historian Gord Stellick to verify my story right now?
Probably at the dog park.
Probably at the dog park. But something, Sammy.
Yeah.
Something.
I think, but I mean, I'm trying to think back to I guess it's just the history with him there, but if you went to Chicago and he got it, they're not going to put something up, right?
1,000 points. I don't know. You're probably right. It is different. There's another layer.
I wouldn't expect it. If they wanted to, and you could say that's a class move by an organization, but this is John in the island. They're not dumb.
Lou is a pretty classic old school guy. I think he'd do the right thing. I do think they would do something for him.
Mm-hmm.
I just need John to put it on tonight. We need old Mitchie to be the dishing magician.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, now we've talked about it, I think they might do something.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll see. But I would say that I see both sides of this as a Leaf fan, dying for it to happen.
Yeah.
But like as a fan, get why they hate him and get why they're booing him, and I get why they would be upset if they put something up. Like, for example, I don't know. What's a good example here? Let me think of this. If Austin Matthews comes back here with somebody else and he scores, maybe Austin
Arizona?
Matthews, yeah, maybe. Comes back and scores his 600th goal in Toronto.
Quick to volunteer in Arizona,
Yeah.
wasn't he?
Nah, but it would depend on how it ends. I guess there's no real parallel to draw, but I don't think I would be like at the arena being like, yeah, great, thrilled for this.
It is a funny question about like what your obligation is as a pending UFA to tell your team I'm going to leave or whatever before you even know.
Well, you can't disguise it anymore because everything's documented. So it's like, I love it here. I hope it works out. And then,
Yeah, what's he supposed to say?
like you
He's
can't
like,
tell me.
I don't know.
Listen,
Then the New York
you
media
can't tell
kills
me
him.
that John didn't know real
Yeah.
early in the
And I-
process.
and
it was in the
so I guess
last
that's
second
Kind of like
decision.
Shohei. Kind of like Shohei
But that's
knew.
where I do quibble with it. Like, why would we assume he knows before he's gone to these places, talked to the teams, seen the offers? Like he can't know exactly what it's going to look like. And so I don't think it's unreasonable to say if the Islanders have the best offer or whatever, he's going to stay in Long Island, once again.
So everybody says that the Jays facility is like state of the art. No one ever comes close, and that's That didn't have any bearing.
I do believe that Shohei
No
went
bearing.
there knowing he was not going
Nobody's
to be
sitting there going,
in that
oh, their
case.
training facility's phenomenal. I got a great 4 weeks there at training camp,
Yeah.
and I can go there in the off season. I'm picking Toronto. That's not happening.
No, I do believe that's a leverage play. But anyway. Sorry,
We're
we
so
did it.
close to going to break on a high. Sorry, Sammy.
No, it's okay.
Do you want to
Okay.
hear about Matthews and Willie's chemistry from? Oh, we need we got to cut. We got
Do
guests
we?
coming.
Let's hit a break.
Oh, yeah, we're going to hit a break, and then when we come back, Thomas Hickey's going to join us, tee us up the return of John Tavares and the chase for 1,000 points. That and more on Real Kyper and Bourne. Don't go away. Toronto Maple Leafs getting ready to go back-to-back in New York. Ooh, Island tonight. New York City tomorrow night. You know, if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere.
Well, you made it there, pal. So look at you go.
You know who else is making it there? Thomas Hickey.
Yes, he is.
Former NHL defenseman, doing a terrific job as one of their analysts for MSG. Let's welcome him in. Thomas, how are you?
Hey guys, I'm good. I'm ready for this one tonight, just like you guys are.
Yeah, I'm not lying when I say if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere, right? You can back that up
That's
for
right.
me.
You did it in a big city, Kipper, in Manhattan. But you know you're right, and I think you just asked the LA Kings. If we're talking about hockey itself, this has been a tough place to play for teams coming in. You saw the Kings go down to both the Rangers and the Islanders, but no question about that.
So, Thomas, give us a bit of background here on what kind of team the Leafs are going to see tonight, because my good buddy here, JB, is telling me from an analytics point of view, man, it's not pretty when it comes to the New York Islanders. So who are the Leafs going to see tonight?
It's a good question, and I think one that you get a different result, a different answer every single time. Look, defensively, the metrics they're ugly. They're not good at all. This is a group that's given up the second most high danger chances in the entire National Hockey League, and there's been some bad teams, but it's also a team that is sort of the sum of its parts. They have a way of getting it done when they do give up a lot. Great goaltending. You're going to see Ilya Sorokin, and he's not a guy that has looked like he has in the past, especially last season with how good he was. But he comes up in big moments, and I think this is a group that relies on him an awful lot, or Semyon Varlamov when he's playing, but they give up a bunch. They found a way of scoring. They're about 4 to 5 goals a game over the last 6, not counting the last game against Los Angeles. They're top guys. I think you can expect to be really good tonight. Matt Barzal has been sensational lately. Bo Horvat, the two of them got a chemistry that's really going. And Ilya Sorokin, like I mentioned, Noah Dobson on defense. This is a guy that you got to keep your head up for.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't look anything like you saw him in the last couple of years. He's bringing it offensively. He's very good defensively. But as far as the group you're going to see, they start on time. One of the best first period teams in the NHL. And they've struggled in the third period because they've led so much and had a tough time with teams really throwing everything they've got at them for usually half of the game as they've held that lead and had a tough time holding on to it. But you'd expect them to start on time tonight.
I was talking to Kip early before we came on the show and just showing him some of those defensive metrics. Like for years, the Isles were like the best defensive team, or at least one of them. They would give you nothing. They couldn't score, and they just kind of played 2-1 games. And that doesn't seem to be what this Islanders team
Barry
is.
Trotz.
Yeah, there was a lot of Trotz related stuff. So now they're without Pelech, they're without Pulock. There still seems to be enough veteran guys that they could defend better than they do. What sort of changed that they're struggling a little bit to protect their goaltenders, who, as you mentioned, have been very good to kind of protect them and keep them in games?
Yeah, it's funny. I think if you don't watch the Islanders play, you do have that preconceived notion as, okay, well, if you're down 2 goals or if you're down 1 in the third period, it's game over. And that just hasn't been the case this year. It's really strange. The biggest part of that, the penalty kill, has really struggled. And when teams have gotten back into games, it's usually on a third period power play. The Islanders haven't been able to close it out, and goaltending is obviously your goaltender is going to be your best penalty killer. They haven't been getting those saves in the third period specifically, but a group that really struggled, maybe it turns mental after it happens 2 or 3 times. And there's been, I think 10 instances where they've given up a third period lead. And a lot of times it starts with a poor penalty, and then all of a sudden it's 1 goal, and that momentum, they just can't find a way. And this is a group that it's happened so many times. It happened against San Jose. It seems like the Sharks are doing it to everyone right now, but gave up 3 goals in the last 8 minutes of the game, ended up losing in overtime, and we thought, here we go again. This team just can't get over the hump. A few days later, played against Columbus and had their best third period of the season. And then 2 nights ago against Los Angeles Kings, they found their game in the third period, ended up scoring 2 on the Kings and beating them in overtime. So maybe they're over that hump, but I look to how much they give up off of the rush. It seems like the gaps haven't quite been there, especially with the 2 guys, Pelech and Pulak, out, as you mentioned, just haven't been able to stand. And against a team like the Leafs that has a ton of skill and can make plays crossing the blue line, it's definitely something to keep an eye on tonight. But for me, it all comes down to the penalty kill. That's been the way they've been letting teams back into the game.
We're talking to Thomas Hickey. Does a terrific job covering the New York Islanders for MSG. He's also been a teammate of John Tavares for half a dozen seasons. First of all, just his return again. It doesn't matter, Thomas, we could be talking about a 100-year deal, and it'll always be a big story for some reason, John Tavares going back to the island. But what do you expect tonight on a guy on the cusp of maybe scoring 1,000 points?
It's a storyline. Like, I don't think you can draw it up much better. I mean, maybe if he was at 999 and looking for that 1 point tonight, that would be that much better. But look, I'm a fan of Johnny, a friend and former teammate, and you know what? I don't echo that too loud around here because fans are still bitter. It's been 6 years, and there'll be boos every time number 91 touches the puck. And maybe it's going to take him in a different jersey someday, if that ever happens, that he comes back here to get the ovation that he deserves. But an extremely loyal fan base with an extremely good memory, and he's going to be getting booed tonight. And I know, Johnny, how bad he's going to want to get to 1,000 every night. You know the way he competes and hunts pucks down. And, despite the reception he gets, I know that this is a special place to him. And I can't imagine if it's not in Toronto, there'd be no other building that he'd love to do it than this one itself. So I think the players on the team know that. The fans are going to be aware of it tonight. And he's probably going to hear about it whenever he touches the puck.
Listen, John's a pro. There's no question about it. And sometimes the good players get booed. But do you think there's a part of him that might be bothered by it this far along into his Leaf career?
I think so. I think if you're human, like I can't speak for Johnny. If it was me, that first game, that was difficult and tough. And look, I'm not saying anyone did anything wrong. I encourage our fans to say whatever they want and express themselves. Their loyalty and passion is what I love most about them. But you would think, Kyper, at 6 years later, that maybe there'd be enough time to gather your thoughts and maybe think of someone in a different light. He's a pro. He keeps his head down. I think for him, it's maybe showing them that he can win. That's probably the biggest thing that he could do to maybe calm all the noise. And until then, I think this is a guy that has a ton of pride, and he's human. So it's got to bother him deep down. But as you know, you talk to him, you listen to him talk, it's strictly business all the time, and it's just focusing at the game at hand for him. But it would bother me, and I can't imagine it not bothering anyone because he did so many good things here as well.
Hick, speaking of those Islanders fans, 2 things. How do they feel about this Islanders team? Like, where are they at on things? And how are they feeling about the UBS Arena experience, which I know they just opened the whole outside park and everything. It looks pretty awesome.
It's incredible. So what they're doing here, I tip our cap to ownership and UBS Arena and MSG Networks is part of it, just setting up an outdoor park where people are going to have access to skating, not just on game nights, but every single day of the week. And we're going to be doing our pre and post game shows out there, doing a phenomenal job just bringing hockey to people that don't have it at their fingertips. There's not as many rinks as there are obviously in Canada. They're doing a great job. UBS is sensational. The fans about the team, a frustrated group. Look, it's been a difficult year for me in this position to analyze a group that's so inconsistent so many times. And I think what this, the fan base craves is really a consistent team, and you don't get it every single night. Even most nights you see 2 different teams in the same night, just with the way that they play. About 3 weeks ago, everyone was calling for the head of the coach and the head of the GM. And all of a sudden you woke up last week and looked at the standings, and this team's in a playoff spot. The Metro Division is so bizarre this season. You get teams that are underachieving, and You got a couple that are overachieving. You got the New York Islanders that are probably right where you'd expect them to be, but things look good. So I think this fan base, as frustrated as they are, you wake up and reality strikes that you're very much right on track to make the playoffs. So, it's a group that the fans that have a ton of passion, and I think that they realize the window for this hockey team, the way the roster is constructed and built, is this team needs to win now, because if
Wow.
it can't, you might have some grim years. So I think that that's what they see, and that's why they want the results, and I can't blame them for that at all.
Wow, Thomas, when I hear you say that this is a team that kind of needs to win now, and I look at the lineup, and you mentioned it earlier, the chemistry with Horvat and Barzal's good now, but Bo Horvat, I love a lot of part of his game, but I don't consider him a true superstar right now. And as far as Barzal is concerned, he seems to me like we should be talking about him in that one of the most talented players and dynamic skaters, but it's just like you keep waiting year after year for him to kind of go into that next threshold of stars, and it just hasn't happened. I know maybe this year he's on a career path to points, maybe close to 90, but is he ready now to be that guy?
He is ready now, and I agree with you, Kyper. For the longest time, and his rookie season, he was a point a game player, and you just assumed that would be the bar that was set, and it wouldn't go lower. And perhaps he's a 100-point player. The reality is he hasn't had guys to play with like he does now. And with Bo Horvat, do I think he's a superstar? I don't. But when you team him up with Matt Barzal, not only are you getting a better player in Barzal, you're getting a lot less heavy lifting for Matt Barzal, because Bo Horvat's a centerman. Matt Barzal moved to wing, and that move has paid off. And perhaps that's what it takes to get him in the conversation of not only one of the most skilled players, but one of the better players in the NHL. And I do work for NHL Network. Over the summer, it's compiling a list of the top 100 players, and he's not on anyone's list. And people ask me who should be on there. I said, well, with his skill, with his talent, with his hockey sense and competitive nature, he should be on there. And this year, you're finally seeing it. He looks as good as I've ever seen him. Especially, I think he's got 12 points over the last 5 games. The way he controls the puck, you just assume that good things are going to happen when he's on the ice, but hasn't really had the supporting cast. And now with Horvat, it looks like that chemistry that those two guys have could propel them both to be point per game players. I think that's the bare minimum, in my opinion, of what Matt Barzal should be, but sniff around that 90, 100 points and being the guy that you circle on the board every single time you play the New York Islanders. Say, don't let him touch the puck, because in the past he can control it as long as anyone, but things don't really come to fruition. It didn't result in goals and assists, but it looks like that's changing now, and he looks to be one of the more elite players that you see every single night.
Hey, we happen to have you in our Leafs hour here, so I got to ask, how's Engvall? How's the Engvall experience on Long Island?
It's funny. Everyone's asked me that from Toronto, going back to last year. And look, the first thing I'll say is I understand the frustration you can have in a player like that, because he's 6'5", he skates like the wind, and he's not a physical player. And if you get that out of your head that you don't expect him to be physical,
Yep,
and try seeing him in a different light, I think you see a guy that's really effective. And the thing that stands out about him on this roster compared to the Leafs is the Islanders aren't a fast team. And he's a guy that has a motor, and he can skate himself out of trouble. And he's found a chemistry with Kyle Palmieri and Brock Nelson that they were sort of the de facto line one last year and produced a pretty good clip. I mean, I don't know if Pierre's going to be a 60, 70 point player, but where he's slotted in right now and what's required of him, he brings an element that the Islanders didn't have, and I think he's more valuable here than he would be in other places. He was a healthy scratch at one point earlier on in the year after a bad turnover, and since then he's been more productive. He's been a better player, but I do understand from a fan's perspective, from an analyst's perspective, you want more physically out of the guy with his physicality, but his speed is something that really benefits this group.
Hey, Thomas, really appreciate your time. I know it's busy for you. Have a great call tonight. We look forward to the game.
You got it, guys. Good talking to you.
thanks, appreciate it.
Former National Hockey League defenseman for the New York Islanders, Thomas Hickey.
Engvall, if he ran into people, is like a $6 or $7 million guy.
I'm going to tell you.
I love that. It's just it's the same thing we've always said.
Listen,
Yeah.
I don't know if this is going to surprise you or not. There are times this year I've missed Engvall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
You can't
listen,
tell me the third line's
I don't-
not better with him.
I'm not claiming.
Instead of Robertson or whatever.
I'm not
driving the-
claiming Engvall.
Not a cosign. No cosign.
I'm not
What I will
claiming.
say is the first game he played, he was very good, very noticeable. And then for the second and the third game, he disappeared.
Was that Butch?
Butch Goring earlier this year or
No, last year.
last year. I will say
What a
this.
throwback clip.
When it comes to the Engvalls and the Kerfoots, I'm not sure how far they can help me win a Stanley Cup
But
for 4 rounds.
They were pros.
But there were pros, but especially Engvall, is that there are times when earlier this year where he could have really helped. And if you would have taken Nick Robertson out and put Engvall in,
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
right?
You
It's
know,
a big difference. Like
For
we're,
sure.
we're talking about times when there's just heavy lifting.
Did he score 20 one year?
He
Like, I
could-
mean,
he's a big guy who can skate, and Thomas just mentioned it. There's things that he could do, like skate a puck out, and
I was laughing though as
Right?
he said that. He's like, he can skate the puck into trouble, and in my head, I was like, and back into trouble,
And then turn around.
bring
Yes.
it back, and skate through it again.
Yeah.
He is. He's the ultimate frustrating player because if you had a skills contest with Engvall, he might win every event. He might be
Yeah.
the fastest guy. He might have the hardest shot. He might do the most pull-ups. He might do it all.
I'll
But
tell
the
you
whole
another guy
package
besides
sucks.
Engvall out there, not to completely derail this, but
Uh-oh.
no, Kerfoot.
No.
Flex foot.
What's our boy
God.
Flex Seal
Take
doing?
a look at what
Flex
he's
Seal.
been doing in Arizona.
God, is he doing
It's
stuff? I have no idea.
it's noticeable. Again,
Arizona's
do I
pretty
want to
good, boys.
do I want to
Those-
battle 4 rounds with Kerfoot being like,
Buddy, OT winner for the Leafs. You can't slag him.
Those
I'm
two,
telling you,
those two
he's
goals,
been
I'm
good.
missing him.
I got to tip my hat
How
to
do you-
Kerfoot.
couldn't give you one thought. I watched.
15
No,
points in
I've watched.
26
I've
games.
watched enough to see him go up on the power play. He's got, what does he have?
I'm not-
14 points?
15.
Listen,
Mid
let's-
15.
Let's talk about.
He's on pace for his usual 50 points.
Let's talk about the Jays missed out on Ohtani. I'm not doing. I'm not doing this.
I'm just throwing it out there. Okay. He kind of caught me off guard, Thomas, a little bit with they have to win now. I look at this lineup and I'm going, like, where do you get you have to win now with this
Well,
lineup?
You got all the old guys, Kyle Palmieri, JG Pajot. You know, they have committed to, Cizikas, Clutterbuck, Martin, not
They're
young
all the
players.
same. They're all interact between the second line and the fourth line.
Brock Nelson, Anders Lee are what, 29, and they're not young players.
Mid.
They're really they're better than mid.
Are they better than mid?
Not the Islanders. The Islanders mid as hell. But those players I just named, Lee and Nelson, are
Yeah.
better than mid. But their decor, they've been without Pellich,
Yeah.
who they need. He plays a ton. He's been out he's on long-term IR. Pullock just went out. They just traded, by the way, quietly, a 7th rounder
Yeah.
for Robert Bortuzzo, 6'4", 217-pound right shot defenseman.
You getting a lot of why didn't the
Gotta use
Leafs
him.
trade for Bortuzzo?
Well, that broke during our time capsule, and there was other fish to fry. And I looked at that even during that time. I was like,
Bortuzzo.
couldn't have done a 6th, Brad.
He couldn't have beat that 7th. Yeah.
The only question
I
is
know, I
if
don't
some
think
guys
he's
are
great.
starting to get healthy here, and Liljegren's probably day to day now.
Yeah.
So they got to go get a bigger fish.
Yes.
They got to focus on a bigger fish, Sammy.
That's
These
fair.
little minnows.
He's not little.
No, I'm just minnows is 5, 6, or 7
Yeah.
depth guy. Benoit and our buddy Raj Lajoie,
At
Pretty
the Raj
good.
590. Yeah.
pretty good.
I mean, what did he play on Saturday? It couldn't have been any more than
14, 15.
What coach's line was that? Yeah, what did he have? 0? Oh, it was Daryl Sutter
Yeah.
talking about the Pelche
Oh,
or
yeah.
whatever. Yeah, what did he have? 0 points?
Oh,
Yeah.
rude.
Well, no, yeah. What numbers he wear?
Oh, yeah. Rude. So rude.
All right.
We got to go.
All right, thanks to Thomas Hickey, who just joined us, helping us tee up the Islanders and the Leafs tonight. Next hour, we're going to welcome in PJ Stock, former NHLer, Habs, Bruins, Flyers, Rangers. We're going to get into a ton of it. Don't go away. More Real Kyper and Bourne after these words. Kyper, take 2. Welcome back in to the Real Kyper and Bourne Show, our national edition. We are live on Sportsnet, Sportsnet 650 in Vancouver, and Sportsnet 960 in Calgary. This hour of Real Kyper and Bourne brought to you by Bet365. Sammy, the rest of the country want to know if you're okay
Well,
on the Ohtani
Show him.
watch.
Pruvy's still okay.
Are you
Show him,
okay?
camera.
The
Yeah.
good news is that we didn't do that nationally, at least.
Yeah, the bad hour. Yeah.
The bad hour, the
Yeah.
nightmare hour. The nightmare hour
Genuinely believed
was
he
not. And I will say, I think there's not I think Vancouver kind of has a bit of a non-cheer for the Jays kind of thing.
No. I grew up in BC.
It's
Big
still
Jays
all
vibes.
Jays?
Big Jays
Okay.
vibes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's really
They don't
truly
tie that
turned
in with the
into
Leafs.
Canada's
They don't
team.
tie it in with the
No,
Leafs.
no. I mean, there's never really been another baseball team outside of the Expos. So
Okay.
it's actually the closest team.
Okay. Just making sure.
Yeah.
Didn't know if that was a thing.
No,
Bye.
you're good.
So we've been so far off a Stanley Cup. We cheer for anybody that's still around
Any sport, any Canadian
in
team.
May and June.
Not true.
Not Sam.
Not you.
No.
Okay.
Like I've said many
I'm
times.
talking about the rest of the country. It's like they're like really nice people.
We're
But-
referring to Ohtani.
I'm talking
by the
about
way.
nice
Anyone
people.
didn't realize.
I'm sure that all the people in Vancouver would just be rooting so hard for the Toronto Maple Leafs in the Stanley Cup
They're
final.
Canada's team.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Like I've said a million times, the only way I want it back in Canada is down Yonge Street.
We're
baby.
gonna grab PJ Stock in a few moments, but before that, do you buy any into the conspiracy theory that like there's no way Major League Baseball would ever allow Ohtani to come to Canada?
No.
But I do buy the theory that you need leverage in a negotiation to get an extra 100 mil, and
Yeah.
if Canada's willing to provide it,
I do believe that it would be horrible for ESPN.
Why?
what-
They're playing in the American League East. They're
They're-
playing against the Yankees and the Red Sox
Buddy,
all the
listen,
time
you-
in
you-
the Eastern time zone.
You got the Dodgers on Sunday Night Baseball, or you got the Jays on
yeah,
Sunday
winning
Night
the
Baseball.
division for
It's
the
a
10th
different-
straight time with
it's a different vibe. I'm telling you.
Nah.
TNT didn't even want to do the outdoor game between Calgary and Edmonton. Didn't even want to do it.
I think baseball's a different animal. I think
It's a thing.
okay.
It's a
And
thing.
And I had to read every article from every American guy being like, "Oh wow, thank God he didn't go up to that igloo place." Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's like it drove me nuts. That part of it drove me nuts.
yeah.
With people being like, "This is better for the game." It's like I said in our other hour, the Toronto Blue Jays viewership dominates
Higher per game than any other major league team.
major league team.
Yeah.
Dominates more eyeballs every single night.
And does Major League Baseball care which side of the border they're on?
Yeah, sponsors do.
And I guess they would prefer Ohtani to play against the New York Yankees once a year as opposed to 18 times a year, or against the Red Sox in Boston 18 times a year. Like those are the two
Yeah.
marquee markets. Anyways, I'm not over it.
You're extremely not
am
over it.
extremely not over it.
Sam has said he's going to the first Ohtani game in Toronto,
Taboo.
buying the best seat he can and full booze.
Yes.
Coming for. He's got a lot of show hate over here.
Oh, a lot of show hate.
There's also a tremendous spike, of tickets. in
Yeah.
a very small window.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Oh, people were going to buy tickets, Blue Jay tickets.
Ahead of time, trying to get out ahead of it.
And when
Mhm.
the odds were really close for him coming, I think the tickets were that you could normally get for $60 or $75 were $150.
Well, it's going to be fascinating to
$175.
see how the Jays pivot because they just spent $300 million on the lower bowl renos.
Mhm.
And I'll say, like the first time in my life, I had talks with friends of mine, like, are we going to get a package? Like, are we going to go like in on a flex pack or whatever?
Can I present to you Matt Chapman?
Yeah, but they need to present someone,
Yeah.
right? So it'll be interesting.
Well,
to see
it's a
what
good
they-
thing you quit drinking because you don't have to debate whether you're going to pay for a $60
That's
beer or not.
right. Yeah, exactly. I can get a $32 iced tea instead.
We got PJ Stock, former NHL player, tough guy. He's going to tell us that the Habs don't suck.
Think so?
I don't know.
Well, I put it in there because they don't suck. They're ahead of Kyle Dubas's Penguins.
That's a good thing for you.
There's some issues going on in Pittsburgh. We'll get to a little later on in the show too, because Kyle met with the media.
Mm-hmm. I was listening through it while you guys were talking to Hickey there. I was trying to cut some of it. It's just so Kyle Dubasy. It's not really newsworthy.
No.
No.
Oh, I think him coming out
Yeah.
and talking about his head coach
Yeah.
is very newsworthy.
Okay.
In what way?
The fact that he's doing it.
In what way?
Yeah.
Drawing attention to it for
Is
one.
someone asked him about it though? Was it?
It was the
Regardless, you have to know that it's coming.
And you just go, I'm not talking about Mike Sullivan.
No,
He's
he
Mike
did.
Sullivan.
He did.
Yeah, yeah. And but you think he should have just like moved on from the question?
I think he's put a timeline on his job.
Because it wasn't he to start the season. He said something about like never get rid of Sullivan. He's Mike Sullivan. Anyway.
Okay, as promised, PJ Stock for his second appearance.
Yeah, we're talking about Dubas. So what,
on
PJ?
the real Kyper and Bourne show.
You guys bring me on. I get all excited. I comb my hair. I talk about, the Ryan Reeves stuff. 2 seconds later, he's not playing again. He pulled him out of the lineup, and then no more calls. But you guys are like, and now that the Leafs have passed the Canadiens, you're like, ha ha ha, we can call them back up and get them back on the line. So,
all right,
thanks for having me on, guys.
Let's start with the Montreal Canadiens. Not bad season so far, with everybody considering a bottom feeder team, game off of 500. What's the vibe in Montreal?
The vibe is great. I mean, the problem is in Canada, we put the expectations so high, especially in Montreal and, Toronto. The difference is Montreal is supposed to be bad. And they're actually, I don't want to say they're trying to be bad, but the organization understands that this is not just a 1 year, get a first overall pick, and maybe not the strongest draft year ever, and things are just going to turn around. It's a process. It's building pillars. It's starting from the ground up, and it's gonna, they have to get rid of a lot of bad contracts, bring in a lot of new guys, teach them how to win and build a foundation. And I think the problem is everyone just expects them to win right away, and they expected Slafkovsky to come in and be the next coming of God because he was drafted first overall, and it's taken him a little bit to get going. But he's not. It wasn't a Connor Bedard. He wasn't a Sidney Crosby, or it wasn't that type of a draft. But where he is in his process, where the Canadians are in their process, and where the expectations are, normally I like to come out swinging, and I've been really calm this year. I understand completely what the process is, where they are, what they're trying to do. And you know what? They're considering everything. They lost to probably number 2 centerman, number 1 centerman. They lose some big defensemen off the get-go. They're a couple points behind Toronto, who's at the salary cap that's supposed to be in the Stanley Cup final. Montreal is supposed to be one of the bottom teams in the league, and they're a couple, like you said, what are we, 5 points behind the Leafs? I mean, it's all beautiful in La Belle Province right now. I'm more worried about what's going on in Toronto. You guys didn't get, we're missing a baseball player. The Leafs are struggling.
Don't rub it in, PJ.
Having a tough time here. Sammy's having a tough time, okay?
It is pretty crazy. They broke it down. I'm not sure. I think it was Sportsnet. You guys had it on today. I think it was his play per game, per inning, per day, per minute. And they compared it to, I think, McKinnon's, and how much he gets, like $1.44 or something silly per second.
We're really rooting for him to hit 262 with 11 home runs next year. So that would be really
helpful.
Such
a mean panel here.
I know. PJ, you mentioned Slafkovsky. Does it give you any sort of, I don't want to say hope, like it's so terrible or anything, but seeing what's happening with Byfield in LA, like a big guy started slow and all of a sudden it's like, oh, the lights come on. Even Lafreniere is like, he's almost got 10 goals this year. He looks really good too. It takes some time for some guys.
Tage Thompson?
Yeah. For big guys.
Yeah. They're big, because it's different for Slafkovsky because, first of all, he never really played a physical game. He played on a bigger ice surface, and like everyone's like, he's a first overall pick, but he got 10 points last year in Finland. He played in the Finnish league. He didn't play in, so bigger ice with no hitting, and a lot of, as the way they defend over there is kind of mirroring, and there's a lot more space. And I think now he's such a big guy, and the space closes on him so quickly, and there's no, like, he runs into corners quickly. He almost looks like, I'm lost a little. He's starting to, remember, we're at game 60, I think, for him. He's not even a year in. Everyone, Hughes is probably might be the MVP of the league this year, and he's almost on pace for what Hughes had his first year, Jack Hughes, that is. So, it's a process. I think what isn't necessarily helping him a ton is the people around him. I think obviously you're picked first because you finished on the worst team in the league, and they have some veterans around him, but the organization, Kent Hughes, has been trying to get rid of some of the older contracts that Bergevin had and trying to bring in some newer guys, some younger guys and build it up. So I think there's a lot put on him because there's not of insulation around him. Nick Suzuki, Cole Caulfield are the two guys making a lot of money. They can be better. I know they're young as well, and they're part of the young nucleus, but Slavkovsky's on that line, and there's, I know you're the brains, the guy beside you, Kyper is not, but at, the advanced stats, puck battles, he's won the most by a mile in the last little while for the Montreal Canadiens. And that's just starting to understand how big he is, where he is on the ice, how to use his weight, which he never really had to. And he's not a year in, so it's not even a year of experience yet. And it's hard when your team's trailing all the time and you try and do stuff and the pressure's on you. And there's a lot of media in both these towns. We know all across Canada that the first pick, they're expecting, this, and they're not getting that right now. So it's been a little tough on him, but he's been pretty good. He's the last few games. He's had flashes of, I'm going to say, not brilliance, but trajectory.
How many times do I have to tell you I'm the muscle in this group here? I'm the brawn.
We're an orchestra. Can't all play tuba.
Hey,
So I know you're the looks, Kyper.
So yeah, exactly. Caulfield's got twice as many games as Slavkovsky, and he's on pace for 20 goals, and he's making now big money here. That's easily acceptable now in Montreal.
Well, again, I think that's where, I think a little bit of his situation is that if you break him down, he's a specialist. And he's specialist of shooting.
3-on-3?
3-on-3 is actually, it's funny because I hate when we do this, but we all do. He's new Canadians record for the most overtime goals. And, well, they play 3-on-3 now with no touchy, no whatever. And, we used to play overtime. It was 5-on-5 and it was pretty much rugby. And then I went to 4-on-4 and this is, but yeah, he set some records. He's great with open space. The problem is, for his situation, no one is drawing people away from him, his checking, to let him get open. So, if again, I'm just picking on that line because it's the only thing really to talk a lot about is Slavkovsky, Nick Suzuki, and Cole Caulfield. Nick Suzuki has to beat his coverage for someone else to help out. And then that's what we saw last year. Now Cole Caulfield's open, and that's where he makes, Suzuki's so great at those quick passes, those quick looks. But if he doesn't beat his body, everyone's just, space man to man. And Slavkovsky's been a little bit better at beating guys out of the corner, but he's got to get, more eager to drive to the net. Right now, he beats the guy. He's like, oh, where's Caulfield? I got to get him the puck. So, everyone could be a little bit better. I think the catalyst to that line is Nick, and Nick knows that he's a real good player. It's frustrating, losing and signing a big contract, and people want you to do more. And if you shut down that line, you have a good chance to shut down the Habs. So a lot of teams are putting all their, a lot of their players against the shutdown guys against that big line, and then you're down by 2. Before you know it, you're just playing pond hockey trying to catch up.
Yeah. PJ, I want to get your thoughts on like a trend from the NHL right now. I think you're a good guy to weigh in on this. Barron got hit from behind by, I think it was Robinson on Winnipeg. We saw Cousins, Grease, Goodbranson, who went back at him the other day. We saw Brodin get hit from behind by Kane. A lot of these D-men going back on pucks, numbers showing. Who do you put it on? What do you make of guys kind of, getting these boarding, these hit from behind plays that seem to be happening with increasing frequency?
The game's going that way. And anyone we've all known that if we want to eliminate the physicality, there's still going to be some people that are physical in the game. Mm-hmm. And I really thought the Cousins one was really bad.
I did too.
If Goodbranson isn't so big and so strong, that could be broken neck. That could be, it's not like where he kind of turned into it, where some people at the last second turn into it. He was full blown going down and going to move it with following the boards. And
his body just like,
and
I think his skates left the ice at one point.
It could never have been a clean hit. There's no chance for it to be one.
He launched his whole body into it.
And you know what? I think I'm going years back to Steve Downey throwing a hit like that and getting 20, not the same idea, but the intent to injure. There's no intent to separate from the puck on that play. there's intent to which I get, I understand, because we want that from a forechecker, but there's also within the limitations of the game. If Gabranson gets more of a penalty than what Cousins gets, I think we're totally missing the point here. Like that is, one is, you're going to get your ass kicked because what you just did, and the refs aren't going to give it to you. Well, I'm going to give it to you. And that's the problem with the game. The refs in football, they come in, and, basketball, you look the wrong way, you get a T. Hockey, we get away with a little bit more. And I think there's a way over 82 games. Suspending a guy for 2 games or fining him $5,000 for an incident like that is a joke. That you could really hurt someone because of the body check. The Gabranson thing is a retaliation to the body check, which I understand. It's not legal. He gets a penalty. I'm totally fine with that penalty. But what he was going to get versus what what Cousins was going to get, which he knew was kind of coming, compared to what Gabranson could have happened to him on that play. I think it's something the league really has to identify. And I'm 2-game suspension. What's 2 games over 82? Like, you gotta suspend guys for, it should be, and the problem is no one really knows what a suspension is. And I know George Barros and the guys, they're on both sides of the fence. They want to not over penalize guys, but you gotta give that's a dirty play that can really hurt someone. And if that was 5 games or 8 games, or if it was 10 games, I wouldn't have a problem with it. I have a problem with Gabranson getting penalized and getting suspended. If he got 2, 5, 10, and if he got a fine, I'd have no problem with that.
Talking to PJ Stock, former National Hockey League player. I've been a fan of Nick Cousins. I love the way.
I thought you were going to say me.
Yeah,
I thought you were going to say me.
He says that off air.
You too. He plays the game hard, but if you're gonna go that hard, you can't turtle.
Well,
I'm sorry, you just can't, and think you're going to get any respect.
But it did remind me a little bit, and I hate to call this up, but Bertuzzi on Moore, chasing the guy, you throw him down on top of him, and you throw some punches, and that's the way the Moore one worked out was so terrible, but it had the same look where you maybe just have to fight the guy and take your lunch.
The difference is it's the guy that hit you. Like, that's the guy that you ran over.
Sure.
Whereas Bertuzzi was coming back,
that's a good
defending
point.
Naslin, and no one really knows how that's going to end. He had already fought in the game.
Right.
Cousins been great. He's been great for them. And I'm not saying him, the person. Yep. I'm saying him, the act. And there's been, you just mentioned, Bourne, you mentioned 3 of them in the last week. But
I was kind of wondering, Peach, if you wouldn't go the way that, like, at some point also going back on pucks. I thought the Gudbranson one was different. I thought he's going back on a puck and making a play. Barron, I didn't think protected himself super well, nor did I think Brodin protected himself super well. And I guess my thought is just like, your numbers aren't a force field, and you have to at some point anticipate that the guy may hit you and protect yourself a little bit, which doesn't seem to happen as much either. Gudbranson to me was separate from that conversation, though.
I do. I'm going to reference John Tortorella, because was it a week ago or 2 weeks ago, he brought up, and this is, I've been saying this, my kids went into hockey and contact hockey, and it's not so much, or my kids driving, for example, as much as it's teaching them how to drive, it's teaching them how to be aware of everybody else on the road as well. And that's the thing on the ice right now. We put the onus on the hitter. Like, I'm coming in and I'm going to turn my back, and like, you can't hit me. That's kind of what you're
not supposed to hit me.
You're not supposed to. Yeah. Like, you shouldn't hit me. Why are you putting yourself in that position in the first place?
Because when I was a little kid, I had a little stop sign on it. And I'm just showing you the stop sign.
Stop. Can't hit me.
And that's where it started. And I played with Big Joe Thornton, and Big Joe Thornton could get away with it because he was 6'4", 240 pounds. And Yager did that, would turn his big butt to us. But the game's too fast. You can't hold up anymore. And I was scared that if I hit Yager too hard, that someone was going to rip my head off. First of all, the joke there is that I was on the ice with Yager, but hypothetically, it was actually one time down low. I have him in the corner. He does that exact same thing. So I slash him as hard as I can over the back of his two legs, and then I cross-checked him on his big arse, and my stick broke in half. And he just turned around at me and looked at me. He had the biggest, back padding, and the ultralight stick just breaks in half, and I'm like, now what do I do? But too many guys do that. And with the speed of the game now, no more defense can't interfere with their partner. Goalie's limited to come out to where they can play the puck. You want the speed. The league wants the speed. You like the speed. You can pretty much get the 200 feet like that now. And you have two guys flying down, and the onus is on the defenseman to if you can't get it, let him get it, then smoke him. But you can't put yourself in a position to get hit. Sorry, you can put yourself in a position to get hit, but put yourself in a position where you are okay with getting hit. Like, that's the one thing. If your 2 feet are facing the boards, that's not good. Like, I don't want to bring up an older name, but Brad Bertuzzi. Chris Chelios played 100 years in the National Hockey League, and everyone wanted to kill him. He never went into a corner without his head looking 15 different ways, stick up, get down. And if he has to eat the hit puck, he just kept it in his feet, jumps up, and gets smoked. And then play carries on. It's too fast today. I think a lot of the young guys don't protect themselves properly and put the onus on the person that's hitting them. And it's unfortunate, because we're going to see some injuries if this continues, because the last week has been pretty tough. And Cousins playing great, no on him, but his play is what the league has to eliminate from our game.
Another scary incident we saw.
Larkin?
Yeah, Larkin knocked unconscious in a battle in front of the net. Matthew Joseph, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And Perron retaliating. We'll have an in-person hearing. Well, a Zoom call. Nobody really goes in person anymore.
He's got he's 5+. 5+ for sure. But
it was pretty bad.
Okay, hold on. The Larkin thing I've watched 100 times from every angle, and I don't know how he got knocked out.
Same.
Like,
Did it not look like any other type of battle in front of the net that would, if Larkin gets up, we would not have been thinking twice about what just happened in front of the net. Correct?
Not a 2-minute. I don't think there's.
No, I know
agree.
he didn't.
Yes.
But if he did, it's uncommon of any other battle in front of the net that we've seen.
Agreed.
Okay.
So one, I'm talking about the hit on Cousins, which is, the intent is there. You can understand how he gets caught up in the action, and it's kind of a hockey play that goes completely wrong and should be suspendable. The Joseph play, the Gabranson thing is retaliatory. Could McSorley Brashear him if he wanted to. Jumps him, mano a mano, like you guys says. We're putting the onus on Cousins for not sticking back up. I understand that part of it. The Perron cross-check to the face is...
Can't go there.
You're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, can't
as much as I'm mad at the Cousins stuff, I
could really use a punch there, right? A good punch to the head.
Sucker him. The guy knows it's coming. He just does not know he's about to get 2-stick cross-checked into the face. Yeah. Like, that
was on Zub.
Well, it wasn't even Zub who did it.
It was just like, hey, whoever's in my way is...
Yeah.
So again, and now the precedent comes out of this is, what if there's no call on it? Let's say it's 2 games. What's going to prevent someone doing something to somebody else and getting a 2-game one just before the playoffs? Hypothetically, what stops me from doing that to McKinnon?
You're saying 2 is not nearly enough.
No. That a 2-handed cross check to the face.
Yeah.
The game is trying to eliminate every hit to the head anyways, which we totally don't understand. We're eliminating fighting. We get all that. Mm-hmm. This is a deliberate retaliation with intent to hurt, which is not to the body, it's to the head, which is because of all the sciences. We're trying to eliminate all the blunt shots to the head. This is a 2-handed stick to the face.
I'm reminded
There's
of the
no way-
Matthews on Darlene one, which
Yes.
kind of skipped off a shoulder pad and was not
Bad.
half as egregious as the Perron one here.
They were right beside each other. This is distance traveled, right? So an
Yeah.
instigator in a fight is a lot of times not necessarily dropping our gloves at the same time or before each other, is the distance traveled to the person. Like if I skate all the way to Toronto right now where Kyper is, I wouldn't go near Kyper. I would go near either of you. So someone weaker in your studio, I'd go to that person. And
I'd be full Cousins turtle shell over here if you show up.
so that's part of the instigator. So, I mean, that's going to be added to this as well. I really do think the distance traveled, look down, see your buddy happen. Perron really wasn't sure what happened, and then just got up and cross-checked the wrong guy, which is, I don't know how they do not make this. The problem is we don't have a menu, but if this is not 10 games, I'm very, the problem is we need the injury. This is the problem with a lot of these penalties.
I agree
like,
with that it shouldn't be judged on that.
Yeah, it's
yeah,
a big factor.
Yeah.
it's a terrible factor. Then they try to guess the intent. And if he, hypothetically, what's his name, has a broken jaw, is it 6 games? Is it 8? Is it 15? Why isn't it 20? The intent is you took your stick and cross-checked the guy in the face because your buddy's on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
It's minimum X. Now, if he's hurt, if this is X, we're adding to it.
Yeah.
We don't. If this is I just can't be. I know it's in person, but if it's Zoom, does that count as in person? But
oh no, you just waive your rights to go in.
I know.
Yeah.
It's like they got to. Our game's been so great. It's been a little guys. I came in all positive. I started off with the positivity.
No, it's good.
We get this a lot from our guests that we pull them down.
Yes. Yes. You're doing
I was
great.
doing so well. Okay. All right. What's going on in Toronto?
You good? Tavares going after 1,000 points in the island.
In the island.
On.
Big night.
On.
I was thinking about this. There's a little nugget for you guys in Toronto to fool around with.
Ooh, we like nuggets.
Well, they haven't signed Stamkos yet in Tampa. Toronto hasn't signed Nylander.
Oh, I see what you're doing here.
Toronto, Stamkos has already made all of his money. Is he happy to come home and
retire like everybody else?
Like everyone else at the tail end of their career? Or
Del Boca, Toronto?
And Nylander can take less, go play on a kind of a winning team where he's not always the focal point of the media for not being great.
So are you trading them or having them sign as UFAs after the summer?
I figure flipping UFAs, but there's no way Toronto can let this slide. There's no way they can let him go without sign and trade or whatever it is. There's got to be something there.
That's just not happening before March. I can assure you.
Well, then they lose him for nothing. Like you're losing Nylander.
Yeah, but to your point though, if you wanted to sign Stamkos at 6.5 or 7 million, you're just using the cap space, and it's like a trade, anyways. So what's the difference?
Just wait.
Wait.
I'm just throwing this. I just want you guys.
We appreciate you throwing.
What if they both sign with the Dodgers?
I'm giving you guys a show.
Is that a problem?
You
should throw for the Dodgers.
I'm not a good thrower. I'm not I used to be able to bring the heat a little, but I can't. And I'm the pop-up king.
Well, pop up on our show anytime, bud.
All right, buddy. You guys are great.
Appreciate it, PJ.
Okay, PJ.
Ciao, guys.
PJ Stock. Always the delightful and entertaining PJ Stock.
Good takes on Stock Talk.
Stamkos $750K next year in Toronto. I like that idea from Peach.
Yeah, right.
It's time. It's time, just a little earlier than the other guys when he's still got some
time to come home.
And he
dreams.
And he can rectify the Canadian Tire fiasco.
Everybody wants to. Can you get the Jason Spezza contract? Yay.
Why?
Hey, Stammer.
I tell you, Stammer comes here, he will get the Canadian Tire sponsorship.
Why in God's green earth would he come to Toronto? He lives in Tampa, where he's like, it's just where
he did it
flip-flops
once already. He did it once. He said, in my prime of my career, I'm staying down here, to your point.
Yeah.
I got son. I got no taxes. I got one reporter to deal with.
What do you think Ohtani's yearly taxes are? in California?
What's that?
What do you think Ohtani's yearly taxes are in California?
They're not that.
Oh, California's brutal.
Oh, no, that's what I'm saying. It's
Yeah.
not that much different from
Yeah, yeah.
Ontario. Like Ontario's, I think, 62 now,
I think it's above
62%.
50 in
Well,
California.
Won't someone please pray for Ohtani?
I hope he's okay.
He only,
Hope he gets
he might
through this.
lose a little bit of that $700 million.
Which, by the way, is 949 million Canadian dollars.
Game time?
Game time.
It's game time, presented by Bet365. Visit the app for the latest odds and find out why it's never ordinary. Bet365 must be 19 plus, Ontario only. Please play responsibly. Now, I had to go here for the same game parlay that I'm doing for tonight. The Leafs win, and John Tavares gets 2 points, pays plus 350. Do you believe that it happens this evening?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah? Yeah, that's a clean sweep.
Yeah.
That means it's not happening.
He's streaky.
Yeah.
He can end up with
And just
3 tonight.
got to be super motivated tonight. Like Mitch knows what's on the line. He's the best setup guy going.
Yeah. I would imagine that, but something this team has done in years past is,
Not been there for him.
well,
On
they've
Long
had
Island?
some bad performances there for sure, but they get guilty of like overfeeding for
Yeah.
somewhat meaningless records. Like, do you remember for the Mitch Marner's point streak?
Oh,
The
yeah.
circus when there was the empty net and they were
Trying to
like
get
giving
him
it to the puck and he was like trying to get it up there and he like missed. And remember that?
Yes, I do.
They have a tendency to really overfeed
You know
these
what,
kind of
though?
things.
Might be okay to look for Tavares a lot. Fun fact about him, he has 1 power play goal this year through 24 games. Last year he had 18
He's
power play goals.
one?
1 power play goal, 18 last year.
If
So,
there was one knock on the Leafs Saturday night, it was their power play.
Yeah.
They got the one.
last
Matthews
month, it hasn't been great.
had a 120-foot 2-on-1, which is not.
That's not a power
It's
play
not a
goal.
power play goal per se.
Mhm.
It's technically a power play goal, but it's not a setup.
Yeah,
It's not a Tampa Bay Lightning ding 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 ding
No.
ding ding in the net power play.
pinball. They've been scuffling on the PP of late.
Little predictable
Yes.
for the last little bit. But and the other one I had tonight for game time, Kyper's beloved Coyotes are playing tonight against the the Sabres. My computer is frozen here. They are plus 105. Got a little value on the Arizona Coyotes. I know Kyper will be watching. It's his favorite team.
Yeah.
Kerfoot to get a goal. But
Loves Kerf, loves the Yotes,
yeah,
big
just-
mullet arena
I
guy.
love regular season Kerfoot. I'm good on him.
I do not. So that's my other one for tonight. The Coyotes against the Sabres.
I got the Coyotes as a survivor pick on Wednesday. I think they're pretty decent, this Coyotes team,
Okay.
in a bad West.
Okay.
That's game time. Presented by Bet365. Visit the app for the latest odds and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, a few other news and notes, including maybe a conversation on a shift in best team in Canada in the last 2 weeks.
Has there been one?
Yes,
Tell
there's
me.
been a shift.
Tell me after the break.
I will tell you after the break. More Real Kyper and Bourne after these words. All right, just before we went to break, I kind of teed up a little bit of a look back on the weekend and Canadian NHL clubs. For the most part, I think a lot of Canadian teams should be fairly happy.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe there's a bit of a shift on where do we start with who's the team to beat in Canada right now, because we all had Edmonton for dead
Yep.
at American Thanksgiving, and all they've done is 7 in a row.
Okay. The only thing I feel stupider about than the Shohei show is how much I buried Edmonton.
Yeah. They won 7 in a row and suddenly are.
Calvin Pickard, his first win in 2 years, 26 saves. Even he's in on it now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Did
New Jersey touch the puck in that game?
I was looking
They're
at-
unbelievable right now.
I don't know what's
Yeah.
wrong with them.
I was looking at the
Nice.
standings and I was like, the Oilers are currently, I don't know how many points, 11 points behind the Canucks or something like that. And I was like, it's not over. You know, like that's not them being a wild card team. Edmonton, I mean, is not a lock. They could be better than that still. So, but there are 3 teams, Kip, in a cluster.
Yeah, 12 points back.
By points
yeah.
percentage.
Yeah.
3 in a row. It's Toronto Maple Leafs 667, Canucks 661, Jets 654.
Yeah. And we'd be the first ones to admit that we just don't give Winnipeg enough airtime on this show.
They need way more love than they get.
And
They've won 4 in a row now again.
what we have not mentioned yet is the devastating knee-on-knee with Connor.
And was it Strome?
Kyle Connor going down with Ryan Strome, sorry. And did you see it? Didn't look to me like there was a dirty extension.
No.
And this is not. Listen, I'm
It's
not
Ryan Strome, too.
I haven't
It's
watched
not.
Ryan Strome every Ryan Strome game he's ever played, but I've watched him long enough to go. It's not typical of that guy going to search out taking knees out.
I find it hard to watch any knee on knee. I think it's one of the most. It makes me queasy every knee on knee. I hate knee on knees.
I will tell you something that I'd almost have anything done to me outside of the knees are the scariest for
Really?
me.
Yeah.
I would if I knew someone went after my knees, I would go squirrely.
Yeah.
For sure.
And it's just, I think it's hard for them not to look incredibly greasy to me. Like it's the NHL, it's the fastest league in the world, and he's trying to make body contact with the guy, and he just missed, and his knee's there, and it's like I don't think it was maybe on purpose, but I think it doesn't matter if you're his teammate. Like that's just you want to kill the guy.
And
Especially
crazy
with Connor.
too is, Connor is 2 points off the league lead in goals right now, 17 goal season. Jets have won 4 games in a row.
They're at the top of the Central Division right now. Colorado.
Humming. And, I think they're 5th in the NHL or 6th in goals against. Like they're locking it down. They're playing well and things are going well, but they need all their pieces there. He's kind of one of their game breakers, and that's a massive blow for Winnipeg.
But we had buried them a few times. I remember last year.
I'm taking it Kip is putting them as the best team in Canada. Is that what we're doing?
Edmonton.
No, I mean, no one's hotter than Edmonton right now.
4 good votes.
I don't know. I mean, you can't talk enough about Connor McDavid's lateral movements.
It's a freak.
And then go, I don't know who he passed, and then he stuffs it off the post.
He's behind the net when he scores.
One of the best goals you'll ever see.
He's the most talented person ever to play hockey.
I cannot believe that
insanity.
It's not the puck's not Velcro to a stick. That's the only way it could stay that close to him when you're moving your hands that fast.
Well, there was someone, there's lots of really fast guys in the league. Like McDavid doesn't win the fastest skater by 3 seconds every year for a reason. There's a lot of guys who hum. And remember, I forget who it was. I think it was Gregor on the Leafs. And I was like, God, if he could just handle the puck. If you could handle the puck at that speed, you're McDavid.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why, McDavid's such an absolute phenomenon.
Since November 24th against Washington, McDavid's point totals in these games 4, 5, 3, 1, 3, 2, 2. That's hard to figure out why they're winning so many games now.
Yeah, he is now 7th in league scoring.
The one thing
he was on page 4 at one point.
Yeah, the one thing that it looks like, at least, is that Edmonton looks patient enough, and even the Leafs Saturday night had a little bit of this as well, a lot of it, where you don't have to go toe-to-toe every shift. If guys can just hold the fort a little bit and you just wait it out, eventually it will fall towards your better players to find that one shift, that one game-breaking shift. And that's all you got to do is just wait it out. And, Evan Bouchard, who was so bad a month ago,
couple
now
defensive plays,
is just stay quiet until you put yourself in a position where you can shoot a puck.
And God, shoot the puck. I mean, what is he in terms of points for defensemen? He's
almost 30 points.
Yeah, he's way up there. So he's 3rd in the league among defensemen, 28 points. It's just Makar and Hughes ahead of him at this point. One ahead of Hedman.
That whole thing with Evan Bouchard now is probably a guy like Paul Coffey working with him now. 3 weeks, 4 weeks?
You're so good at this. If we can get you okay over here,
pick your spots. Just keep your powder dry until we
The game will present you with opportunities.
That's
you don't
right.
have to make them out of nothing.
And that to me looks like that's Paul Coffey now getting him to take a deep breath.
Well, not many better guys from to lean on.
Yeah. He's
with Paul Coffey, if you're Evan Bouchard and Paul Coffey's like, hey,
what if he
listen
wore
to me.
tiny skates and didn't tie him up tight? No, it is a unique
true?
thing. It's a Coffey thing, right? Didn't Paul Coffey? Yeah.
Yeah, like 2 sizes too small.
Yeah,
too.
and like barely
What?
tied him up. Yeah.
Oh, you could. He always wears skates smaller
Why?
than his regular shoes.
Do you
I don't know.
have a reason for that?
I got nothing for you, pal.
That's insane to me.
Just-
Also,
I mean, it's hard to
no
doubt
socks.
it.
I think he's a no sock guy too.
Have you guys no socks?
No, I mean I've done it. It's
Yeah.
terrible.
when I forgot to put my socks in the laundry bag.
Yeah, not on purpose.
I gotta tell you, I like it. I don't do it very often, but it does feel. It's just really gross.
It wasn't good for the leather.
No, it's not good for the leather.
Well, there's teams buying them. You're going through a pair every 2 weeks.
Yeah. Anyways,
What was that stat you told me about JT Miller Saturday?
let me pull it up. for you.
Fastest to 40 points.
Yeah, fastest to 40
Tony
points.
Tanti.
Yeah, Tony Tanti. Yeah, there you go.
I watched
Bless you.
Tony
Tony
Tanti
Tanti.
play junior hockey when I was a kid.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He was like, I don't know what he scored, 81 goals one year.
You know what's fun? I always get him
Scary
mixed up
number.
with Tony Twist because of the
Not their hands.
Yeah, I guess very different type of player.
Very different
Yeah.
hands.
In 81 with the Oshawa Generals, he had 150 points in 67 games with 81 goals kept.
81.
I was right. I
There you
remember
go.
that number.
Followed her up with a down year, 62 the next. So a bit of a down year for Tony. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, the Canucks, they've come back down to earth a little bit here, but they had a good win against Carolina, who's struggling on Saturday night. Watched a lot of that game. Miller scored a nice goal in that game. But this is why an awesome start. It's like you can play
okay.
you can play just above 500 hockey for the rest of the year, and you're like, you got a playoff spot. So
It's inconceivable that the Canucks could miss the playoffs to me now. There's just no one in that division. Like, even if the Oilers caught them, like, they're so far into the wild card, they're fine.
Yeah.
Canucks are humming.
yeah, so what do you make of the Hurricanes? They're not
Four
they're
straight losses.
4 straight. They are firmly out of a playoff spot in the Eastern Conference.
Just can't get a save. Dead last in the NHL and even strength save percentage. But still shocking. You know what's crazy though is if you look at like
Dead
analytics
last,
stuff.
that's not going to help.
No, but they have the puck all the time. They play at the other end. Like all the possession numbers, everything. Like they're a top team.
So they're the same team with terrible goaltending.
And Freddie Anderson was so good for them.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's got a bit of a theory on like Tom Dundon's the owner there, and we know he does things differently there, and he doesn't want to spend a dime more than he has to. And who's happy and who's not happy? Who needs a contract? Who doesn't have one?
Is this about the coach?
And I don't know. I don't know if that brings people together or not.
Mhm.
They don't look like a very close team.
I got to tell you, I have an irrational dislike for them. I don't know. There's something about them.
I
I
get
guess I
there's
don't
issues.
root for them.
I get, Sam, that there's issues too. Every team has to make those tough decisions.
Yeah.
But
Do you mean the coach? Like,
he needs a new contract too.
yeah. But players too, you're thinking? Just
I'm thinking everybody. Yeah. Everybody.
Yeah,
So-
it could be. It's funny, this like contract stuff. Like I'm looking at Kuzmenko in Vancouver. Guy scored 40 goals for them last year, 39, but 40 goals.
Mhm.
Like that's unbelievable.
You think they've had a change of heart on him? You think they could?
He's making 5.5, right? Like all of a sudden he gets paid. You think he'd be more content to what you're talking about, and that hasn't seemed to
God,
be.
with scoring still at a premium, they could
You think
easily move that.
you think they get value?
Oh yeah, I think there would be a lot of value on that.
Yeah, I guess this year and next $5.5 million for a guy with that sort of.
Depends on.
It's funny though because they wouldn't. Rutherford wouldn't commit to him. They asked him about like, what are you going to do with him? And he basically said, we're not going to lock ourselves into a plan. Certainly nothing long term. So maybe they are open to trading him.
Couple quick things before we go here. I'm looking at the Eastern Conference standings, and the first 3 teams, and you can go first 4 of the first 5 out of the playoffs to me, are pretty surprising. Look at Tampa on points percentage out of the playoffs,
Yeah.
-7 goal differential. The New Jersey Devils, who everyone kind of expected to have a really good year again, follow up last year. They're behind them, -3. and Carolina behind them even, and then the Penguins behind the Habs. Like those are, and you look at the Metro division, Philadelphia is now firmly in second place in that division. Washington's up there still. They have a +10 Philadelphia. They just beat Colorado. It's a weird year right now.
Very, very, very weird. Parody, baby.
Just we did mention this earlier in the show that Kyle Dubas met with the media today.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this guy does nothing without having some motive on it.
Everything's great.
So a couple of quotes here included on his coach, Mike Sullivan. I'm certain that Sully's the best person to help us.
Sully.
And I'm going to give my players and coaching staff as much time as possible.
Ooh.
He mentioned All-Star. He mentioned All-Star break as time to fully assess.
That's February 3rd, I believe, which is 7 weeks away.
Is that him putting Sullivan on notice that he's got till then to turn this around?
It's funny.
That's what it sounds like to me.
Could you imagine first year he fires Sullivan?
Yeah, it's crazy.
40 games in? That would be really shocking.
So
50 by
that they have not scored a power play goal in a month.
They're over 37.
That's
and
really bad.
29th in zone entries on the power play. So they got 3 or 4 Hall of Famers, and they can't get past the opposing first block.
According to somebody that told me this today, no media for Kyle this weekend.
So Kyle's coming to Toronto for the first time. The Leafs have already played there.
Yep.
There might have been 1 or 2 shots of him in the stands, but that would have probably had to do with more a Pittsburgh kind of camera or coverage. But coming to Hockey Night in Canada, it would be a huge story. But he wants nothing to do with any interviews or nothing.
He should hold up his +6 goal differential and be like, "We're not that bad. Look at the stats."
So what is that? Just sour grapes on it, the way everything parted? That I'm not turning myself into a storyline for you?
I don't know, but in a way he is, right? Here we are talking about the fact that he won't even answer some questions.
To me, you were the general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs for, what was it, 5-6 years?
Yeah.
Your first trip back?
You might want to say a couple things.
I mean, like, listen, he's probably not going to say anything newsworthy. Like, these interviews, we always give them a hard time. There's not a lot said. But just do something.
Otherwise, it looks like you're hiding from it or you're whatever.
The part that pisses me off the most.
A little immature.
For sure.
I would agree with that.
If they were leading the Metro, they're 10 games above 500, you better believe he's coming on the shows.
Taking out billboards.
Yeah. So I just thought that was interesting when I got that told to me today. They're doing nothing. So I don't know. I mean, maybe people don't care about that. Maybe like the general listener, maybe that's too inside baseball.
Clearly, though, he's clearly unhappy with how he was portrayed on the way out the door in Toronto.
Well, yeah.
So don't do any interviews and it'll get better.
Not a good solution.
Yeah.
So you tried to drown out your Ohtani woes with a lot of NFL.
Oh, yeah.
I was real happy with the Buffalo Bills outcome.
I tell you, I watch so much NFL.
But I have a new appreciation of how bad, like, the whisker of the offside is in the NHL, that NFL had a taste of it in Kansas City with the toe over the line, the scrimmage line that had no bearing on anything.
That's so... You think... Okay, so you're on Mahomes' side here?
It's offside.
I am.
Mahomes saying the words, it was barely offside.
No.
Well, then you're admitting it was offside.
Go watch any game, and I can guarantee you there's a lineman's hand that's over the line.
You couldn't see the ball,
There's a toe over the line. This happens all the time. If you're going to call that, you got to get them right. And listen, I'm a Bills fan, so I'm happy about the outcome. But you can't pick that one when everybody else is over the line by a whisker too and not call it.
No. I can't call that.
No.
I lost a ton of respect for Mahomes.
No.
That was embarrassing.
There was no bearing. It was a toe. It was a toe.
It didn't help that one of the coolest plays in NFL history happened right after.
Hey, same thing with the NFL. Call it then. Call it all the time.
11 times this year.
The NFL.
They called it 11 times this year.
NHL's offside call. It's coming.
All right, just like that, our thanks. Thomas Hickey, New York Islanders, and PJ Stock. We're back again tomorrow. Once again on the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. Give us a rating and review if you get a chance. We'd love to hear from you.